It's hard to believe just how quickly time has passed since the launch of the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. This handset is now 3 months old. The device has a few challenges entered the ring since release, but here's why the S10 Plus is arguably the best all-around Android. Let's talk hardware, because the Galaxy S10 Plus has some of the best internal and external hardware on the market by some margin. While specs don't always make a phone, the Snapdragon 855 and Exynos 9820, combined with a minimum of 8GB of RAM, do help things run incredibly smoothly, but I'll talk more about this slightly later on when we discuss the device performance. For me, the external hardware is nothing short of exquisite. The weight, size, shape and feel in the palm of your hand is as good as it gets almost anywhere. Samsung has come a long way in a short space of time. To think that the Galaxy S5 was a plastic, cheap-feeling device, and now we have arguably one of the most refined pieces of tech on the market. That's quite impressive. At the back, the prism white colour has that multi-tone sheen that sees varying colours appear in different lighting or when you hold the phone at a slightly different angle. It's gorgeous in person and a really striking option that Huawei seems to have taken mainstream, and I absolutely love it. When you look at the edges, the frame and the little nuances, this is objectively one gorgeous looking smartphone. At the back, the camera visor also has an extra design advantage that you might not have even anticipated. It doesn't rock on a table when you place it face up, which to me is absolutely genius. I will say that the sleep wake button is way too high up the right side of the device, as is the volume rocker and the unpopular dedicated Bixby button, which I have since remapped anyway. You'll notice the headphone port is still present, and I do have to mention it simply as it looks unlikely to make it to the Note 10, and therefore could be the last time that we see the port on a Samsung flagship, which I'm sure some of you out there will be disappointed by, myself included. All of these external extras are great, but there is one that no doubt polarizes opinion as much as any other. I've grown accustomed to the dual punch hole notch, and honestly I do prefer it to the central display cutout. While the status bar icons do move left, it does feel much less intrusive in my opinion, especially when watching videos or generally consuming media. Personally, I would liken it to a logo that you see when watching TV, and then it doesn't seem quite so bad. The punch hole doesn't seem to remove as much real estate when watching videos in landscape. It only poses a minor problem with some games where controls may be placed, but I personally don't play many that have been affected or even hindered by the punch hole. And this leads to another point. The display is arguably one of the core selling points of the S10 Plus. As notches aside, it is simply the best on any smartphone, and that includes a number of high refresh rate options that have entered the market since this was released. The depth of colour, tones, brightness, viewing angles and overall experience is light years ahead of every other device I've tried. For me, only the OnePlus 7 Pro and the Galaxy Note 9 get close to the quality on offer here. It makes interacting with the S10 Plus just more pleasurable. It's a surefire highlight of the handset, that is for certain. While the display is great, I can't really vouch so much for the in-display ultrasonic fingerprint reader. I find that it's a real hit or miss affair, sometimes really fast, sometimes just not recognising my fingerprint entirely. Software updates have helped, but not enough to warrant the hype in all honesty. That said, once you're unlocked and into One UI proper, you'll either love or hate it, but what is a fact is that it runs smooth given those powerhouse internals. In the past, the much maligned Samsung lag was a thing that many experienced, but you're highly unlikely to see a slowdown at all with the combo of the S10 Plus hardware and the massively rebuilt One UI. Sure, there are problems, the duplicate apps and general bloat are frustrating, but don't affect performance overall, so it doesn't become too much of a problem. Where I find One UI doesn't perform well is arguably in the organisation. It takes too long to get into specific settings and access certain features. I've found myself abusing the settings search more than I would on any other phone, as everything seems to be hidden away rather than at my fingertips or in an easily accessible menu position. There are neat additions like a native dark or night mode, along with a host of other tweaks that you'll normally only find on Samsung smartphones, including Bixby, which I know does work well. I just personally prefer the Google Assistant due to using many Google Home devices. The somewhat confusing organisation doesn't hinder the performance of the S10 Plus though, as it's still a beast and it takes everything you can throw at it, even video editing and intense gaming. Heading around the back to the triple camera setup, and it really is stellar. Among the best cameras on the smartphone market, and it's only really let down by lackluster low light performance, although the dedicated night mode is steadily improving. For me, it's a solid mix of lenses too. Although the telephoto lens isn't quite as impressive as the others on the market, it is still pretty solid. Of course, Samsung images are punchy, vibrant and have excellent dynamic range. In almost any scenario, the S10 Plus trades blows with every smartphone camera available. The dual selfie camera is also solid with great edge detection in portrait mode, and I do love the ability to adjust bokeh effects. As for the quality of the video modes, the S10 Plus is one of the best in the Android space. 4K 60fps on the front and back cameras is simply superb in practice. Video is crisp, clear, and the stabilisation remains buttery smooth even in trying environments. As far as smartphone video on Android goes, Samsung still leads the way in my opinion. So before we wrap this up, let's quickly talk about battery life, because despite having a mammoth battery, the S10 Plus Exynos edition can be a little bit hit or miss. Snapdragon models are much better, but with the Exynos version, I've had a real mix of experience. It will most definitely last a full day, it's just dependent on a few extra factors if you'll be able to eke out a little bit longer. My screen on time would be around the 5-hour mark on any given day, but I know that Snapdragon models can achieve much more, which is a little bit disappointing for those of us not in the US. Topping up is also a little frustrating as the fast charger is still only 15 watts. Luckily the phone supports wireless fast charging at the same speeds, so I tend to opt for that instead. But for anyone but the heavy user, I will still say the battery is absolutely excellent. So our verdict of the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus after 3 months is that this is probably the best all-around Android phone on the market. The design, the experience and the little extras add up to a great device that we're sure many will thoroughly enjoy using. Of course, I'd love to hear from any S10 users out there who agree or even disagree. Get down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Then before you head off, like the video if you enjoyed it, and then subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. Either way, this is Damien from 95 Google saying thanks again for watching, and I will speak to you later.